back on the Boulevard Friday, June 7th. As always, here to prove to you there is no such thing as football season. We are presented by the Believe Network tonight. Welcome into our second show in 2 days, and we couldn't do it without your support. To anybody who caught the Freshies live last night and dropped a super chat or shouted us out in the chat, thank you so much. We could not do this without you. If you did miss that live, catch the full replay of our 2024 UFL postseason honors special on the channel from last night. Now, we've turned the page from the regular season into the UFL playoffs. We've got 4 teams fighting for some brand new hardware and a brand new trophy. If you've seen pictures of that, it looks sweet. And now 4 teams going to have a chance to get their hands on it. The first step starts this week as Birmingham hosts Michigan, followed by the XFL side of things and what should be a jam-packed Battle Dome, St. Louis playing host to the San Antonio Brahmas. Let's say hello to our cast tonight. First up, the producer, director, and owner of Studio Z, Chris Zook. Zook, last year's XFL playoffs, not your fondest memory, so maybe a chance to make some new ones this year.
Listen, Seattle still hasn't lost a game this year, so, I mean.
Could say 0-0 is a perfect record. That would fly, but for you, a chance to redeem yourself in the playoffs, maybe with a best bet later on.
Absolutely.
So, who else do we have tonight? Joined by somebody who's going to be carrying the water for the St. Louis Battlehawks all night. It is the People's Gambler back for night 2.
TPG back on the Boulevard.
Got the Battlehawks hat on. I've long been awaiting this, where it wasn't just the award show, that you and I would have a chance to go back and forth. Unfortunately, the DC Defenders did not make the playoffs, so it's still going to be interesting tonight because we have differing opinions. TPG, any opening thoughts for you tonight?
It's going to be a great weekend of games. Can't wait for tomorrow.
Let's do it.
I have a thought.
That's not usual for you.
I know. Wow. DC more nominees on the Freshies than wins this year.
On tonight's show, 2 games, 2 full breakdowns of positional matchups, coaching advantages, and what are the analytics that we need to look at? What are they telling us? What are the numbers saying about the playoffs this weekend? We're going to answer the biggest questions heading into this, including, will A.J. McCarron's ankle affect him this weekend? Is San Antonio better off with Quentin Dormady or a banged-up Chase Garbers? We're going to preview all of that with Battlehawks offensive lineman Steven Gonzalez. Can Birmingham bounce back after a few close calls that have been sort of uncharacteristic of them and put together that dominant game that we were used to seeing earlier in the season? And for Michigan, with the absence of Bryce Perkins, can Danny Etling lead his team to a USFL Conference Championship upset? As always, thanks for joining us tonight. If you're with us on YouTube, drop us a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. If you're with us on Twitter or X, hit us with a retweet. Appreciate the Facebook and the podcast crowd joining us as well. We'll lead things off in the USFL Conference Championship. This is the 3rd meeting between 2 very familiar foes. They played a physical, low-scoring defensive battle, really both times they met in Week 2 and Week 10. It's Michigan at Birmingham for the USFL crown. Stallions favored by 5. Total currently sitting at 43. The forecast for Protective Stadium at kickoff looking like 88 and sunny. Not a lot of wind, no rain, just football. We're going to start with the coaching matchup here. Skip Holtz, back-to-back USFL champ, and on the other sideline, Mike Nolan, recently named UFL Coach of the Year. What did we think about that? Well, I don't want to take anything away from Coach Nolan. Congratulations to him for the award. They beat a lot of teams I didn't think they would. But the bottom line is they didn't beat Birmingham. And they had 2 opportunities to do so. Getting a 3rd now, to me, that'd be like putting Anthony Becht as Coach of the Year in the XFL last year over Reggie Barlow. You just couldn't do it. And Barlow got the nod that time around. So what's with Skip Holtz not getting it this time around? It's just, to me, Skip Holtz is still the better coach. The Stallions managed to go 2-1 without their defensive coordinator, who left before Week 8's game against Houston. Most teams would have fallen apart for something like that. And Skip Holtz said, we don't have GAs or like a ton of assistant volunteers here, right? We only have a couple of guys on staff. So that's a huge coaching job by Skip Holtz to be able to battle back from Chavis not being there. When you think about the coaching philosophy of Skip Holtz and Mike Nolan, to me, it makes it not a very good matchup for Nolan and Michigan because Skip Holtz wants to run the ball and stop the run. And that's exactly what Mike Nolan wants to do with Michigan. The problem is Birmingham does it better. They got the number one rush defense. They have the number one rush offense, and you're not going to beat the Stallions at their own game. They're just too good at it. This is Skip Holtz. He's 30-4 overall in spring football. So it gets you into offensively for Michigan. What do we want to see? Well, frankly, I'd like to see Marcel Belfay, the OC here, dial up some deep shots, get some explosive plays. The first half of the season for the Panthers was the Marcus Sims show. Here's some numbers to back that up. First 5 games, Marcus Sims, 318 yards, 3 touchdowns. Been quiet since then. Last 5 weeks, 108 yards, no trips to the end zone. So what's the deal with Sims? He has been banged up a little bit. Are they figuring out on film not to let him behind the defense? I don't know. We said it back in week 4 on the show that the splash plays that they kept on hitting with him were just not going to be sustainable for 10 weeks of a regular season. Defense has figured it out. And Michigan, because of that, turned to the run down the home stretch of the season and rattled off a bunch of games in a row because they were able to run the ball. They were better at running the ball, right, than they were throwing it. They end up second in rushing offense. They have a 50% run balance, which is by far the highest in the league. But then they lost one of their two-headed monsters when Wes Hills went down with an injury. So that's deflating because with Hills going down, they've had to rely on the quarterback to run. And just when Bryce Perkins became that dual threat option that they so badly needed, they lost him to injury. So I'm not saying Danny Etling isn't a dual threat quarterback. He absolutely is. Great game out of the vet Etling last week. In fact, it was the first one he ended up losing as a starter all season. He's 2-1. In Michigan's 3 losses, 2 of them were E.J. Perry. But Perry's out of the picture now. Perkins is out of the picture. You're going to see Danny Etling. I don't think they're going to play Brian Lewerke unless Etling has to come out of the game. And that's going to be interesting to watch. I think for Michigan, it comes down to this. Can you get back to those explosive plays we just talked about you generating from weeks 1 through 5? Can you throw the ball effectively on first down? Because, guys, that seems to be Birmingham's only weakness lately has been the pass defense. They've been strong against the run, but subpar against the pass, dating back to week 8 against Houston when they lost John Chavis. And that's another reason the Panthers are going to have to throw the ball to win this game. Matt Colburn is back, but he's listed as RB2 behind Nate McCrary. Not sure how much stock I would put into the depth chart, but Colburn was on the injury report last week. There were questions. Is he out because he's resting? Is he out because he's actually injured? We'll see. Nate McCrary, not bad, but they need Matt Colburn to be 100% here without Wes Hills. And I said week after week, the minute Bryce Perkins was signed, we talked about on this show that Michigan's has now a potential path to the UFL championship because we thought they'd ease him in and then by the playoffs, he'd become the starter. Guys, we've known that Michigan and Birmingham was going to be the USFL playoffs since about mid-April. Memphis and Houston fell off so early that they made this thing a lock for these two teams. So Michigan lost Perry, added Perkins, now lost Perkins. So it's been really tough for them. And to me, Danny Etling is tasked with a really tough job tomorrow afternoon. He's going to have to face the pass rush, dangerous pass rush. He's going to have to read a defense that now has DeMarcus Gates back at linebacker. And yeah, there's holes in the Birmingham secondary, but can he expose them? You need a big day from Marcus Sims. Need a big day from the secret weapon, Siosi Mariner. Obviously, he had a huge day in week 10. So when we look at the John Chavis thing, diving even deeper into that, the defensive side of the ball for the Stallions has taken a step back without him. The numbers don't lie. With Chavis, first 7 games of the season, Stallions giving up 233 yards per game. Without him, last 3 weeks, giving up 321 yards a game. A 100-yard difference for this defense. And they had way more sacks when Chavis was in the mix as well. So Michigan's got to come out taking shots. I don't think you're going to establish a run against Birmingham and play the clock here. You got to take shots. I don't even blame Jake Bates for the reason that they lost in Week 10. I blame the sequence of penalties that they had early on in the fourth quarter where 2 touchdowns were called back for holding, and they drove Jake Bates all the way back to like a 45-yard field goal on a 4th and goal. It was legitimately 4th and 45. That's how many penalties they had. If they score there, they win the game in Week 10. And some of those penalties were maybe questionable. Birmingham caught a ton of breaks. The 1-point conversion to go up 2019. Take another look at that one. First, tell me, did he catch it? Second, tell me, was he in the end zone? They're not going to catch those kind of breaks that they caught this week. So they're going to actually have to beat Michigan. When we flip sides of the ball, Birmingham offense, Michigan defense. Bit of a scare for Panther fans when Breland Speaks showed up on the injury report this week. He did not practice yesterday or Wednesday. So you're not holding him out of this one. We did find out he was playing when the depth chart dropped, and it was well documented that he can be a force because he's the defensive player of the year, and the Stallions had a ton of issues protecting Adrian Martinez. 4 first-half sacks for Michigan last week, and to make matters worse, Birmingham left tackle Christian DeLauro out for the year with an injury. They lose him in a scrimmage. I can't stress enough, the players that were lost last week between Bryce Perkins and Christian DeLauro may have been the game-changing impact players that these teams needed to get to the UFL championship. They're not going to have them. So it's checkmate. What are we going to do without our left tackle? You're going to run. He's going to run for his dear life. And I think you're going to see a different player from Adrian Martinez than you saw in Week 10. I think Birmingham will try to get downhill with Ricky Person, with CJ Marable. Utilize the RPOs, get the receivers on quick hitters. You have fast receivers. You have speed on the outside. You got Jay Sternberger. He's always going to get his. Even when they lost to San Antonio and scored 9 points, the dude had 100 yards. So he's going to get his targets. We know the Stallions have had some of their worst offensive showings against Michigan. Even in Week 2, it looked bad. They couldn't score in the red zone. I know Matt Corral was in the mix there, so maybe take it with a grain of salt. Week 10 felt like a scrimmage to me. So I don't trust Michigan's defense here. I really don't. When it comes to Martinez, he's going to rattle off a couple of big first down runs. They're going to cheat up on him, and then he's going to beat you over the top with his arm. In fact, I was a little surprised Michigan secondary, both Nate Brooks and Kai Nakua make all UFL. Nakua, definitely deserving, but that surprised me a little bit with Brooks because Michigan's not a good pass defense. They rank bottom half in the league, and they're the worst pass defense in the playoffs among those teams. So the front seven's where they make their money here. Michigan and I guess San Antonio, really the only 2 teams to get to Martinez thus far. They're going to have to do that again in the playoffs. I want to bring on the boys here to talk a little bit more about this game and break it down. TPG, let's talk to you first because we were having a discussion about this game really leading up to this the whole week. And we just talked a lot about offense and defense. There's another element of the game here, right? And you're going to focus a little bit on that when you handicap this game and decide where you're going to go with your bet. You are maybe factoring in special teams a little bit more than usual.
So like you said earlier, these teams are identical on paper. They want to run the football. They want to strangle you on defense. So personally, I think this game's going to come down to special teams. And Mike Nolan, he got his coaching career started out as a special teams coordinator with the Denver Broncos. So, and, you know, Michigan's been sound on special teams all year. They had a chance to win the game last week, but, you know, couldn't execute when the time happened. So, but I love Michigan in this spot. Yeah, they haven't had a block kicked yet this year, so
yeah,
they're pretty sound.
They are sound on special teams. When you think about Bates, their punting game has been good. I know Marcus Sims had a big run back against Arlington that ended up putting them in field goal range and giving Bates a chance. again, TPG, when talking about this one and kind of what I said about Week 10, do you put it on Jake Bates missing the field goal, or is there something else that you feel Michigan could have done better to maybe squeak out a win in that game?
Yeah, it was definitely that drive early in the fourth quarter. They got backed up multiple times. It was 3 or 4 penalties in a row. That definitely killed their momentum. You know, if they get a touchdown there, it's a completely different game. You put Birmingham in a way tougher position. So, but yeah, they had the chance to win it at the end, couldn't execute. But, you know, I think Bates learns from his mistakes. They clean up those errors on special teams, and, you know, that could be the difference this Saturday.
You seem pretty confident in Michigan. I'm trying to tap into this confidence and where this is coming from, because I don't think it's coming from a place of maybe Michigan's full body of work. You seem like you saw something you liked last week. Is that the case? Or for you, is this more of this is Michigan's entire body of work leading up to this? Or are you just pleased with what you saw last week? Is there a little recency bias there, maybe?
Maybe a little recency bias, but they are definitely one of the hottest teams in the UFL.
Have you
right
bet
now.
Michigan this year yet? That's what I want to know.
I mean, when Zook gave him out -8, I was all over it.
We're not going to talk about that one. That was a brutal beat. Okay, so you were on Michigan that day.
Yeah.
Perkins. Let's talk about Perkins versus Etling. Are you less confident in Michigan with Danny Etling than you would be with Bryce Perkins?
Of course not. I think,
Wow.
you know,
Okay.
Perkins, losing him was a big loss for this team. But as you saw last week, Etling's sneaky athletic, right? He broke off that 20-yard touchdown run early in the second quarter.
Used to play receiver for the
Yeah.
Patriots for a short bit. We learned in an interview with him.
And I think he's the best passer on this team. So yeah, I love Danny Etling. He showed me a lot last week, through the air, on the ground. Plus, he was missing 2 of his offensive weapons. Matt Colburn, no Marcus Sims. You get those guys back this week, give him a little bit more to work with, you know.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't have the pressure of you know, Perkins breathing down his neck, let him play, get a little bit more looser.
That's a great point. Yeah, I'm glad you bring that up because I was going to ask you that. Danny Etling, in the games that he was able to start, 2-0 start to finish. Last weekend, the plan was Bryce Perkins in the second half. They take him out, and they crushed his momentum. Did it feel like that to you, TPG? Because it felt like to me, like they maybe killed his momentum off a little bit. He was rolling in the first half, and they come out with Perkins, and all of a sudden the wind kind of came out of the sails there.
No, I completely agree. Obviously, those penalties on that drive at the start of the fourth quarter really hurt him. But yeah, definitely, it hurt his momentum. And, you know, if you want him to stay hot, got to keep him in. Got to keep him rolling.
I could tell Zook's waiting to jump in here because I think this is for us really 3 sides here. You're Michigan, right? You seem really confident in Michigan. I'm sort of in between, right? I think there's a possibility if Michigan gets to the explosive play that they can do it. I still like Birmingham. Zook, I think you're on the other side, opposite of Henry, where you're not as sold on Mike Nolan's Panthers as maybe we are.
Yeah, I mean, they had chances to close that game last week. They just didn't do it. They shot themselves in the foot too much. And
yeah, they scored 3 points in the second half.
Right,
like,
and that's huge. I was thinking that first half, and I said it the other day. Like,
they were rolling.
Wow. You throw up that, and then they hold them. I just don't think that you're going to see that bad of a game out of Birmingham again, and you kind of you screwed yourself. I mean, I just don't see it happening.
Let's the 3 of us talk about that. Week 2, we had a 20-13 game between these two. Week 10, a 20-19 game. Are we getting a third version of this, 35 to 40 point slugfest total where it's just going to come down to the defenses? Or is somebody dropping 30 in this game and heading into the UFL championship with some momentum? Either of you, I'll go to you, Zook, first. I just want to know what you think about the scoring in this matchup, because we just talked about 16-6 at half, 19-20 final score. Is it another dud from Michigan offensively like it has been in the second half against Birmingham the last 2 meetings?
It's definitely a dud. I mean, Adrian Martinez, we talk about his third down percentage and what he can do on the ground, and he's just a game changer, and we didn't see that from him last week. And I think that was part of the plan.
You don't think they wanted to roll him out a lot?
No, I don't think so.
TPG, what do you think about that? Because it did seem like he took some sacks, obviously. Do you think Skip Holtz was saying, if you don't have to run around, don't, because he got hurt in week 1 running around?
Yeah, over the past couple weeks, he's definitely hasn't been as explosive running the ball, going out of bounds when, he's got extra yards. I think Skip Holtz is in his ear saying, like, hey, we already got this thing locked up. We're playing for what's down the line, right? Let's not sacrifice anything. But I think he's definitely maybe holding a little bit back, and, holding all that back for all these weeks, could bite him in the ass.
One last question I'll ask both of you before we get to the pick. Christian DeLaro, starting left tackle for Birmingham. He would be matching up with Breland Speaks, who is an absolute wrecker of offensive lines, 9.5 sacks this season. Now you got a backup left tackle on the blind side. How much does that affect this game plan for Birmingham, TPG, and what does Martinez have to do now without his left tackle?
I mean, he's going to have to run. He's going to have to get out of there when he feels pressure. And even last week, Michigan did a great job of getting pressure. So I think it's going to be a long day for Martinez and a long day for that offense. And they're going to have to throw the ball, like you said. Not only is Michigan going to have to throw the ball in this game, I think Birmingham's going to have to air it out a little bit more than they would like to if they want to pull this one out.
Zook, do you see Martinez taking sacks, or do you see this offensive line being able to settle in enough to protect the quarterback?
I think Skip Holtz is smart enough to roll him out and make sure that his play calls are very specific to make sure that he isn't getting touched.
Right.
You use his legs the way you're supposed to. That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's gonna be Adrian Martinez rushing props out there that look really good in this one. I think ESPN Bet has it at over 44.5 now. That caught a little bit of steam. That's certainly an over I'm looking at if you play that sort of thing. I think Martinez will be on the run, and as we've seen, he is an elite runner. Led the UFL in rushing, automatic first down every time he goes up the middle. However, Michigan held them at bay last week. I think he got to like 40, but he had a couple of sacks on dropbacks as well. Christian DeLaro, man, that's a big loss for them. I'm curious to see if Birmingham being so thin at offensive line will make a difference. Let's get to the picks here, boys. I'm going Birmingham straight up. And listen, betting-wise, I want to strongly caution anybody who's going to lay the points here, including possibly someone in the room with me right now. We say it every single week. This team wins, they don't cover. They're overrated in the betting market. They haven't covered since week 6. I expect a field goal game here, and I'm sort of leaning the over. I think that the last 2 meetings were a little too slow. I think these two teams open it up tomorrow afternoon. 2 run-centric teams that might throw it a little bit more than usual.
What do you got, TPG? You're up.
So I will say, and this is my whole reason why I'm going with Michigan. Yes, they play great defense.
The upset pick.
Since the relaunch of the USFL back in 2022, Michigan is 0-4 against the Stallions, and these players want nothing more than to knock off the 2-time defending champ.
That wasn't Mike Nolan, though, was it? Who
No.
was the Michigan coach before Mike Nolan?
Jeff Fisher, year 1.
Jeff Fisher,
Mike
okay.
Nolan's first year was last season.
Interesting.
But Mike Nolan last year, got him to the playoffs, got him in this spot, this exact same spot, and they came up short. They lost in an overtime game against Pittsburgh, who ended up losing against the Stallions. So, you know what? I love this team. Second shot in the playoffs. I like for them to get it done.
I knew that was coming. All right, Zook.
Listen, I really like Michigan, but I can't pick against the Horsies. Can't do it. We're taking the Stallions all day.
Hit him with a not so fast, my friend.
Not so fast, my friend. Yeah, I mean, this is easy for me. I just don't think that.
Easy for you.
What?
See, I knew
Yeah.
you were confident. You've been confident ever since we opened this show, week 1, and Zook said, Birmingham is the standard. They're my championship pick. And,
Right.
I'll give him credit. He hasn't backed down on that through all the
and I
BS we've seen out of them the last couple weeks. He
Yeah.
still thinks they got one in them.
They have the best coach in the league. I don't care.
Not according to the UFL.
I don't care. I was just about to say that. I don't care who
How
the
pissed do you
UFL
think Skip Holtz is for not getting that award, huh? 9-1. What are you supposed to do?
Listen.
What more can you do?
Let me just go standard press conference. It's not about self-accolades. It's about winning a championship, blah, 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 blah. And that's what he's going to say.
Yeah.
And he should feel that anyway.
Yeah.
That's what he wants to back it up.
Wow. TPG rolling with the upset. The Michigan Panthers. Can you imagine the shockwaves that would be sent through spring football if Michigan makes the UFL championship? Whew. For now, I think the home team holds serve. Drop us a chat. Who do you think? Panthers or Stallions? We'll get that out of the way and get to the headliner of playoff weekend. As many as 45,000 raucous fans expected in the Battle Dome at St. Louis for the first postseason football game back in the city in almost 2 decades. We got a primetime matchup on Fox with the biggest names in spring football. Wade Phillips, A.J. McCarron, Hakeem Butler, John Trey Kirkland. It's the Brahmas at the Battlehawks for the XFL crown. St. Louis, the 3-point home favorite here. Total sits at 44. Forecast looking loud with a chance of deafening false starts on 3rd down. Let's look at the coaching matchup here first. Wade Phillips on one sideline, Anthony Becht on the other. Anthony Becht, 3-0 against Wade Phillips in spring football. Might be one of his biggest accomplishments. I'm sure he never imagined going 3-0 against somebody the caliber of Wade Phillips in his first 2 years as a spring football head coach. So hats off to Anthony Becht and his staff for that. Are we seeing maybe the young guy, the young gun, the apprentice, being able to dominate the master here? Wade Phillips, are you going to take that? Your staff has got to make a statement this weekend and punch back. Is this going to be the spot? Let's look at the philosophies. 2 different ones on offense, but they both love to air it out is the similarity. Battlehawks, 60% pass rate on the year. A.J. Smith and the Brahmas air raid, they throw it just as often. 58% pass rate for the ones in yellow. Now, the storyline heading into this one is unfortunately not what I would make it, which would probably, if I had a choice, be Brandon Silvers is the St. Louis reserve quarterback, and he knows the damn playbook from San Antonio from front to back. Nobody's talking about that. Does anybody care? Probably not. I'm probably the only idiot who cares, but that can make a difference. The actual storyline seems to be this: the extracurriculars after the whistle. Brahma's defensive back Teez Tabor told Greg Luca of the San Antonio Express News this week, and I quote, "AJ is a quarterback. If the quarterback doesn't play, we win. So the object of the game is for him not to play. We're coming Sunday." He also added, he told AJ himself to his face, anytime it's a legal hit, he's trying to inflict bodily harm on him. We saw the exchange after the game between those two. It almost felt like a NASCAR confrontation in the pit stall that you would see post-race. AJ goes up, animated, voices his concerns. He's mic'd up, cameras are rolling, and Tabor just kept bumping his gums the whole time. He did not back down from the intensity that he showed during the game. So that's a bold move, Teez. Maybe he was just teasing, boys. I don't know. Bad pun there. But we'll see if it pays off for the San Antonio defense. I mean, in my opinion, if you thought it was a legal hit, why don't you just tell AJ that? Why don't you just walk up and say, it was a clean hit, dude, sorry, and walk away? But it's not what he said. He said he was going to hurt him next week. So, and then he doubles down in the media. I don't know, man. This is interesting. Welcome to the UFL, right? Get your popcorn out. And we're going to have thoughts from Steven Gonzalez, the left guard for the Battlehawks, whose main goal is to protect A.J. McCarron this weekend, and get his thoughts on that coming up here. Guys, I think a safe bet would be to find out who Teez Tabor might be matched up with on Sunday and expect that player, that receiver, to maybe have a couple touchdowns, because I know A.J. McCarron, and when he said, that's fine, and walked away, oh, it wasn't really fine. It wasn't fine at all with him. And he's not happy about some of this after the whistle stuff. And I don't want to focus on just Tabor. Garrett Nelson pulled some crap, too, after the whistle. And, guys, we're here to have a football game, not a tables, ladders, and chairs match. It's not the WWE. So let's play within the rules. Let's have a fair football game. Let's hope the refs do their job. Now that's over. Back to the X's and O's here. Again, San Antonio only put up 12 points last week. However, they got the passing game going in the second half. They had 7 pass plays of more than 15 yards last week. It's really good. And it's a promising stat when you look at this upcoming game. Ultimately, they get the conversion overturned. Santoso misses the field goal to win it. Battlehawks fans exhale. Can you imagine, as a Battlehawks fan, if you start the year in week 1 with what happened at Michigan with Jake Bates, and then you end the regular season the same way? That had to be a huge exhale when he missed that kick. It would have killed him to lose that way. But Jontre Kirkland took over that game in the second half, and he's on an absolute tear, and he's got to be pissed off about the conversion that he would have got the octopus, right? He would have had the touchdown and the 2-point conversion to win it. What a moment that would have been. He was snubbed from all UFL. What are we doing there? Like, there's no guy who's more motivated than Jontre Kirkland to win this game. But he's got to find out who his quarterback is first, and all signs are pointing to Quentin Dormady. Chase Garbers re-injured his wrist during the game early last week. He was limited in practice. He is listed as questionable. Don't have an official depth chart at showtime right now, but all signs point to Quentin Dormady. My main question is, will it be a short leash? Because they've done this before, where they've rotated the two when Chase has been healthy. I know the staff loves Chase Garbers. He was the starting quarterback in week 1 for a reason, right? But it doesn't mean they hate Quentin Dormady. He's just not their first option unless Chase Garbers is not 100%. And he's not 100%. So this is going to cause a dilemma from Wade Phillips. Do you play Garbers hurt? Do you have a better chance with Dormady, who might also not even be 100%? He was hurt a couple weeks ago. Speaking of injuries, Anthony McFarland, John Lovett, probably the best 1-2 tandem at running back in the league when they're healthy, should be ready to go this week after sitting out week 10. But I do trust this Battlehawks defense. I think they're solid at each level. Secondary was awful against Arlington, but they had a bit of a bounce back last week in the Dome. They didn't allow a pass touchdown for 58 minutes of that game. The run defense is stout for St. Louis. So if McFarland and Lovett are back, expect them to be catching passes out of the backfield. Said this last week, say it again, uphill battle for the San Antonio Brahmas to get to 20 points in this matchup. I don't think they get there on Sunday, and it's just going to be super tough if you're betting this over again, which looked good last week, looks maybe good again with 2 decent quarterbacks, but I don't know. So that leaves us with the St. Louis offense. What do we think? This is San Antonio's only shot, is leaning on their defense. They have to replay that same exact game they had against Birmingham. They pressured the quarterback. They made open field tackles. And their signature from Will Reed is that third down defense. This third down defense is record good. Teams have tried 116 third down attempts on San Antonio. Guess how much they've converted? 37. That's like 1/3. That's a great percentage. And the Battlehawks fell victim to that last week. They were only 2 of 12 in third down conversions. So, if you're a Battlehawks fan like TPG, and you're worried because after 2 weeks of suffering through Manny Wilkins, you got back to A.J. McCarron, you had high expectations, and it didn't happen the way that you hoped it would and the way that you hoped it would look like. I'm with you. I bet them 2.5. Minus 2.5 last week, thinking AJ would come back and light it up. I thought they dropped 25, but the offense flopped. However, it's not time to panic yet. AJ's okay. Hakeem Butler and Ja'Cour Pearson are still 2 of the best receivers in spring football. Bruce Gradkowski knew exactly what he was doing last week. When you have a defense as good as St. Louis has, you play defense, you ride the clock out, you hold San Antonio scoreless through the first half. It's not time to run it up. Save that for the playoffs. You got a ton of wrinkles you could potentially add. And I know we've seen all year AJ interject and dial up some audibles when he doesn't like the play call. Didn't do that all that much last week because why burn him now? When your defense was playing so well throughout the game, you have to adjust to the game. They slowed the pace down. AJ did have a red zone pick, which concerned me a little bit, but it wasn't anything like week 3 where we had 55 total points between these two teams. This is not going to be 13-12, so don't count on that again. This is going to be won or lost by the effectiveness of the San Antonio defense against the run and the pass. Bad news for them, half the starting secondary out with injury, so one of these Battlehawks receivers, pick your poison, is about to have a day. Want to bring the boys back in to analyze who that might be for the St. Louis Battlehawks offense against the number 1 scoring defense in the Brahmas. TPG, you're high on a certain player from this St. Louis offense to get you going as a Battlehawks fan here in the playoffs.
So before we get to that, I just want to say I'm really happy AJ came back last week. With him hurt the past couple weeks, I was really nervous that his first game back was going to be the playoff game, which we saw even last week. He had some rust to knock off. So I'm really happy he came back last week, and that's awesome. But I think this is a great week for Ja'Cour Pearson. His stats have been very underwhelming this year, only 181 receiving yards and a touchdown.
Just chill, though.
But OC Bruce Gradkowski, to foreshadow this a little bit, got really creative with how he was going to scheme to get Peasy open. That little Texas route Peasy had out of the backfield for a gain of what was that? 15-plus yards?
Nice
That
play.
was awesome. Yeah. That was awesome. So I love Bruce Gradkowski to, get creative and get his playmakers the ball.
So creative. Him and AJ, and we've seen this on the documentary last year, Player 54. Him and AJ will sit there all night, and they'll scheme up plays. And now you've got Manny Wilkins and Brandon Silvers in that room with you. All right, I'm going to throw this question out there. Zook, I'm going to ask you first because we talked about this before TPG made his live in-studio debut. It doesn't matter at all that Brandon Silvers is in this room and knows the playbook.
Yeah, it does. We already know that.
How many points is it worth betting?
I don't know. I don't think it's worth that many.
Do you care, TPG, about that at all? Does that make a difference to you? Or am I just out of left field here?
I mean, yeah, back in week 3, it seemed like St. Louis had them figured out. Garbers didn't even complete a pass over, 10 yards?
They didn't have a pass play over 15.
So, I mean, I think that's a testament to Brandon Silvers being on St. Louis and, knowing
That's
the ins
tough.
and out of that A.J. Smith offense.
He really does. And, you wonder how clever A.J. Smith has had to get, right, without having Brandon Silvers there. Maybe I'm crazy, but it is something that we've looked at before. Maybe by the third meeting, it doesn't matter. So back to the St. Louis offense, TPG. You're talking highly about Peasy. We've seen Hakeem Butler, Offensive Player of the Year. Obviously, he struggled without AJ, but kind of sort of got back to form last week. I think he had a couple big catches. Where's Darius Shepard been? Because I'm curious if Darius Shepard is simply turning into a return specialist, or is he somebody that's going to make a play? Is he due here in this game?
It's kind of tough because, him and Peasy, they split time in the slot. So, but he's going to make an impact where he can. If he gets in, nice little drag route across the middle, he's going to make that play, whether it's on offense, whether it's on special teams. He's a playmaker. So, yeah, he's going to contribute any way he can, no matter what phase of the game it's in.
How much does it concern you with the San Antonio secondary, right? Because we look at the makeup of this group, they've been battered all year with injuries. Probably the only reason their top corner, Darius Phillips, was left off of all UFL was because he was hurt for a lot of the season. Now he's back. They lose the second corner in Bo Pete Keys, right? They lose A.J. Hendy, their veteran free safety, to injury for the rest of the year now. So, Tease Tabor has stepped up in that safety spot. They actually cut him. You remember that, TPG? They cut him during the season and brought him back. Now he's starting. And you've got Jordan Mosley, who's been one of the best safeties in the UFL. Are you concerned with the depth of the secondary? How does St. Louis take advantage of that?
Yeah, I think they're going to definitely have their hands full. St. Louis has one of the best receiving corps in the league, from
Probably
Hakeem
the
Butler,
best, if we're being
Peasy,
honest.
Shepard, even,
Aitman.
you get Aitman. Yeah, we haven't talked about
Back
him
from
in
COVID,
weeks.
right? Yeah, he had
We haven't
COVID.
talked about him in weeks.
It's crazy.
He could be a guy that could easily get in the mix this week. So, yes, I think this Brahmas secondary is going to have their hands full. And, like you said earlier, Tease Tabor making those comments to McCarron after the game. I think McCarron's out for blood this week. Brahma's secondary, beware.
I know. And Jake Sutherland, another guy. You saw how Jay Sternberger kind of went off against San Antonio. Is Jake Sutherland, who barely gets any targets, but if you look at the ones he does get, he catches them for touchdowns, right? They do draw things up for him. We haven't talked much about the St. Louis run game. I think the reason for that is because we don't expect much, right? Brahma's very solid front seven. We've heard from AJ before, playing against these linebackers, Devontae Beckett, Jordan Williams, is super tough. It's like a chess match. They're very good at stopping the run. They're physical. They fly around the field. They have speed. They call themselves the Rugrat Twins. They play together. And in this Will Reed defense, they've been phenomenal. So don't think the Battlehawks will run the ball all that much. Maybe we'll see some weird stuff from Ja'Cour Pearson, who actually took a carry. I think he took what almost looked to me like a zone play as a running back. Again, maybe trying to put some weird stuff on tape. Zook, let's get your thoughts a little bit here. I'm going to bait you here a little bit on this whole Tease Tabor situation. Is this something that the UFL should push? Is this must-see TV? Or are we just letting this go and saying, we really don't want this controversy? Because I heard, some major outlets talking about this, and it seems to be piquing people's interest.
Yeah, I mean, you can't give total access the way they do in the UFL and not really want this. That's exactly what they want. So,
what do you think the coaches think about Tabor's comments? If you're a coach, put yourself in their shoes. Is that something that you're like, you know what? Whatever riles my guys up and makes them play well? Or are you like, dude, you got to cut this out?
No, they love it because the whiteboard material or chalkboard material is everything. Yeah. You translate this to the NFL, like you don't say shit like this at all.
I was going to say, why is that? Why are guys not talking about things like this in the NFL?
Yeah, because they know. You don't make that mistake. You don't give somebody like, I don't know, that TB guy. What did he wear, 12?
He was at a UFL game this year.
You don't give him whiteboard material because he's going to shred you.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. This is tough. I don't like the comments. It's okay, but AG's that guy that you don't want to do that to. So, I kind of agree with TPG a little bit. Like, don't give him any ammunition on you.
Here's my thought. A.J. McCarron got hit dirty against Birmingham back in week 7, and he got hurt because of it. That's what this whole thing stems from, right? This ankle. Go rewatch the play from Carlos Davis. It's the same thing. Trying to take A.J. McCarron out of the game, who's the best quarterback in the league from a value standpoint, right? It worked. He played the rest of the game. They sat him week 8. They sat him week 9. Big situation week 10 coming into the Battle Dome. What happens in week 10? Players going after his ankle yet again. He's sick of it. He's fed up with it. And the fire that you guys just lit in A.J. McCarron is not something you want, especially when his mom, Mama Didi, on Twitter today saying, if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best, right? Even his family is fired up. This is personal, but it's not going to be decided by a late hit, by a penalty. This is going to be decided by the San Antonio defense. Do they have it in them to hold St. Louis? Let's make the pick, boys. It's the Battlehawks. It's the Battlehawks for me. I get it. San Antonio, number 1 scoring defense. And since week 3, when AJ hung 31 on them, they haven't given up more than 18 points since that day. That ends this week. Lean St. Louis to cover. No real edge on the total here. 25-17 type game for the Battlehawks. TPG, I know you're riding with me here.
This game's going to come down to coaching, and I'm more confident in Beck to make the better coaching decisions than Wade.
3-0 against them already, man.
So my pick, of course.
Oh, we got the headgear on the Boulevard tonight.
Caw. I want to make a little precursor statement right here. I will not be making a bet on this game. I have a 4.5 to 1 future on the Battlehawks to win that I took at the beginning of the season. So for this game, I'm solely just bunkering down and hoping my team can pull it out. Let's go Battlehawks.
Zook, before you make your pick, that's wild, by the way, that St. Louis was plus 450 in the preseason, because I jumped in at plus 380 before the playoffs. What are odds makers doing? They should have adjusted that way more. That should have been 2-1.
You would think, but I think the health of AJ had something to do with that.
They overreacted because he's going to play. He is absolutely going to play. Right. He'll deal with it after the season. But Henry or TPG with plus 450, I have it at plus 380. I don't think Zook got in on the action yet because
I'm going the other way. San Antonio. We're going to take a river walk to the championship. You heard it here first.
Throwing the horns down.
Horns up. I think that defense is stout.
You're not wrong. Yeah.
And I think their defense is better than St. Louis's. And
I can sort of agree.
Offensively, the San Antonio is a wild card.
I know.
And at any moment, they can hang 40 on you. And St. Louis is, like, for me, St. Louis's defense gives up a ton of yards. And the reason why I know is because there's, 6 Dragons on that defense. And that's exactly what they did last year.
It's supposed to be a good thing, Zook.
I know that, but that's what they did last year. They gave up a ton of yards.
Especially passing, yeah.
And it's the same feel.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think there's going to be an upset this weekend, and this is the one I'm taking.
Zook, I know you love McFarland and love it.
Yeah.
And not having them last week hurt. They still lost by 1 without those 2 guys. Probably get him back. Again, John Lovett, probable. He's playing. Anthony McFarland, questionable. 9 out of 10, I'm confident he's playing.
If McFarland plays, I'm taking money line.
Yeah.
But, let me ask you I don't know that yet.
I want to ask you about the receivers, though, because there's a guy you had your eye on for player props for anytime touchdown. That's not John Trey Kirkland. That might make an impact.
Yeah, Smith. All day, he's scoring a touchdown. Take that. Get right on that player prop,
Justin Smith.
Justin Smith. Take him.
I like it. No Latimer, right? It just opens the door. It opens the door for more targets.
I mean, he's come out of nowhere, right? I mean, to me, he's come out of nowhere.
This is crazy to me because it's like Ja'Cour Pearson, all the defense. It's the Battle Dragons, and there's Zook.
My boy.
Against them.
I know.
Damn, man, what the hell are we doing? TPG.
We're bringing real footage to you of what I really think. I mean.
Yeah. I'm getting too comfortable calling him TPJ. Let me call him by his real name, the People's Gambler. Please go follow him because he's going to have a hell of a weekend rooting on his team. You got the headgear on. You've been to the Battle Dome. You've been in the trenches. You've loved this team since 2020, since Joe Powell took a kickoff back to the house in XFL 2020, right?
Yep.
So, is this the year for the St. Louis Battlehawks to bring a championship back to the city?
Hey, this is the greatest show on turf part 2, baby. Let's go.
I'll tell you what.
I love it. I love the confidence because that's me when DC plays.
Sunday night, it's going to be electric in Studio Z, us watching this game.
Prime time, baby. Let's get after it, boys. TPG and I go in St. Louis. Zook keeping us honest with the San Antonio Brahmas. Well, we just broke that one down, and now we're going to break it down all over again, but this time with the guy who's going to be on the field, the captain of the St. Louis Battlehawks, Steven Gonzalez. Well, after last season's tiebreaker heartache, the St. Louis Battlehawks have had one goal in mind, and that's to win a UFL championship. The first step of that will be Sunday night in the Dome, where tonight's guest will be out there moving some bodies. Welcome back to Springball Boulevard, captain for the St. Louis Battlehawks, Steven Gonzalez. Steven, thanks for joining us tonight.
Hey. What's up, brother? How you doing?
It's great to have you back, man. And right off the bat, I got to address the elephant in the room here because you were snubbed from the all UFL team today. 2 of your line mates did make it, right? Well deserved for those guys in what I think is the best offensive line in the UFL, but there's no way they left our guy, Gonzo, off there, man. What's going on with that?
Hey, man, I don't make the decisions. If I did, I'd be on there. I mean, I think our whole line should be on there. But, I don't make the decisions. And, congratulations, obviously, first to Jared and to Mike and to all the guys on our team that received all UFL honors. They're all deserving of it, especially, Jacob Sailors. I mean, he played his ass off this year. So he's super deserving of it. All of them are deserving of it. So, congratulations to all of them. Congratulations to CG, Chris Garrett today, getting the Special Teams Player of the Year. So, yeah, like I said, congratulations to all those guys. I don't make those decisions, unfortunately. So, it's a little tough, pill to swallow to kind of see that because I've, worked hard all year and worked hard for this. And you can ask the guys, like, I've been writing down in my notebook since day one at camp, like, all UFL championship, all UFL championship. That's how I start my new, like, every time I start a fresh page on the notebook, like, I'm always writing on the little top corner because I just wanted to be my goals and my reminders. So for me not to hit my goal, it was, a little upsetting, but it is what it is. I have bigger goals in mind. We have bigger goals in mind as a team. And, we want to go out there, win, on Sunday and then win the championship. So that's more important right now at the moment.
Yeah, they pissed off the wrong dude. And I could tell, like, Jacob Sailors getting on all UFL. Like, that's a guy who came in to the regular season, was very much unknown at that position after Brian Hill kind of moved on from the running back position last year, and you guys had Mateo come in, and it was kind of a carousel of running backs to start, but Jacob Sailors ends up an all UFL running back, which is credit to him and you guys.
No, yeah, definitely. I mean, the one thing about Jacob, I will say, he'll give 100% effort, and he will not, most of the time, he will not go down after that first hit. He's gonna keep his feet churning. He's gonna keep running, and blocking for a guy like that is really easy because he's just not gonna stop. So we gotta match his intensity and match his effort. So like I said, credit to him. Like I said, he grinded his ass off, and he deserves it.
Yeah, one more thing about all UFL before we move on from that. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did the players vote? Because I'm seeing some chatter online that the players voted, but I didn't think that was the case.
No.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to confirm there.
All right. I'm not sure who was voting. I know last year for the XFL, it was the GMs and owners, or not the owners, the GMs and the head coach that decided on that. But like, if you were on the same team as like your head coach and GM, like they couldn't vote for you. That's how I knew it operated last year. This year, I'm not too sure. They didn't really tell us.
Yeah, and I was listening to the broadcast with Joel Klatt on Fox, and he said about having a ballot. So I wondered if Joel Klatt and like some of the broadcasters were voting as well. But again, not something you could control. You had a great season. Obviously, you propelled your teammates to some of those all UFL selections as well. So we'll kind of move on from that. I was rewatching the game against San Antonio on Saturday, and I couldn't help but think back to Week 10 in the XFL 2023 and how that afternoon you guys played a near perfect game offensively. You score 53 points, and then you come off the field, and it still wasn't enough to get you in. So I guess my question is, what was the difference playing in that Week 10 game in that situation versus this year where you knew, forget all that, we win, even if it's 2-0, we get home field?
I mean, honestly, it was less stressful because, we're thinking about tiebreakers, how many points we got to score, how much does defense have to hold them to. I mean, either way, it's still both, high pressure situations, high pressure games. And, a lot was on the line in Week 10 last week. But, it's much easier when you don't have to worry about tiebreakers and, how many points you got to score and all that. You just got to worry about winning the game, no matter if it's 1 point, half a point, it doesn't really matter. So honestly, it made it a lot easier mentally, I guess, for us. But honestly, we take it 1 week at a time, and, we handle each opponent like it's our championship game. So no matter what, we wanted to go out and win the game. So.
Yeah, and speaking of your opponent, let's get into the Brahmas a little bit. Is this the best defensive front that you faced, and what do they do that leads them to be number one in sacks on the year?
Yeah, I think they're a solid front defensively. I mean, we got against them a couple times. They're very solid, stout up front. They rush the passer really well. I think that's their specialty. Those guys will rush their asses off. And we throw the ball a lot, so they know most of the time it's going to be a pass or something like that, some sort of RPO. So, most of the times they have their ears pinned back. But like I said, we've been running the ball really well. So that's honestly helped change up the game a little bit for us. And, they're not really as their ears aren't as pinned back because they're, they have to respect the run. So, like I said, I think they're a really good front. They move really well. They stunt a lot. They twist a lot. They bring a lot of movement and things like that. So, they're difficult to play against, but I think we have them dialed up, and I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, when you have two great opponents like this going against each other, it's really kind of a game within a game. If there was a scale, let's say, with one side being physical, violent football that's within the rules of the game, and the other side being intent to injure and play outside of the rules, where do you put some of the stuff that was going on with San Antonio's defense, paying some attention to AJ's injured ankle last week?
I mean, you can get nitpicky with it. I think, the sideline one is a little close. The one where he got swept off his feet was a little close. But the one later on in the game where he got sacked, I unfortunately gave up that sack. But he got sacked, and 91, I think his number was. I don't know his name. I think Nelson or something like that.
Yeah.
He sacked AJ, had him by the leg. You could see it clear as day from the back view on film. You could literally see it clear as day. He lets go of his ankle, and AJ's about to start getting up. He literally bear hugs it and grabs it. So, I mean, you take with that as you want. If you want the clip, I can show you. So things like that, are unacceptable, because, there's a fine line between going out to injure someone and, the guy just gets hurt because you make a good play and, you hit him low and he just gets hurt. Like, there's a difference between that. And, like I said, sometimes it was a little close, but that one was the one that stood out to me because, like I said, he literally let go of his ankle and then grabbed it and tried to bear hug it. And you can see me on the film. I grabbed it. The minute I recognized that, I grabbed his arm and ripped it right off. I'm like, what are you doing? Yeah. And the refs ran in and even warned them, like, don't do that. Like, that's not okay. So, like I said, it's tough because there are some plays that are close, like the one, like I said, the one on the sidelines a little close. AJ might be trying to get another yard. He might be trying to go out of bounds. So I get that one, but there are little ones that, some normal people, like not normal people, but some people like in the TV or they're watching it from home or like they're seeing it in the crowd. They don't really see those kind of things. But like us players, obviously we're there on the field. So we see, if there's something dirty going on. But regardless of that, we have to protect AJ as the O-line and we have to do our job. So no matter what, at the end of the day, we're ready for it. We're prepared for it. And, if they do things like that, we're going to make sure the officials know. But we're not worried about that. We're just worried about going out and playing physical and, just playing hard till the end of the whistle and making sure he doesn't get touched.
Right. And you talk about playing physical. Obviously, this was something that was happening against Birmingham, too, clearly, when he originally got hurt. And, there's been a lot of discussion right now just in sports media in general. You think about someone like Caitlin Clark, right? She's getting fouled really hard after the whistle. And the criticism right now is that her teammates really aren't coming to her defense. So you kind of relate that to football. For an offensive lineman protecting a quarterback, where do you see like your responsibility? Obviously, it's to keep his jersey clean. But during some of that late stuff, how do you make sure personally that you don't get mad and knock somebody's head off when that happens and then you get the flag instead of the aggressor?
It just takes mental discipline, honestly. It takes a lot of mental discipline. It takes a lot of mental fortitude. You just have to be smart and know what you can get away with, know what you can't get away with. There are times where you can like give a little extra shove right when the whistle ends, if you're, drive blocking a guy off the ball and, just it's a physical matchup. And like I said, it's a physical game, but if you're doing things after the whistle, you're like, or even on film, they catch you like trying to do something intentional, like that's not okay. That's, that's the fine line you shouldn't cross. And like going out to try to injure a guy because you want better chances to win. I mean, wouldn't you want to win with him in so that you can feel more accomplished? Why would you want him out? Like, I mean, I get why would you want him out, but I don't know. I mean, like I said, it's just something that, there's a fine line between it. And, I hope the referees this weekend are, watching out for things like that. Because, last week they were a little 50-50 on those kind of decisions. So.
Right.
we'll see how it plays out. And, like I said, we just got to worry about ourselves. We got to worry about what we do. And if we just out physical them as the O lineman and we just, impose our will, then we should have no issues, no problems. And that's it. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much simple.
Yeah, and about the X's and O's, I'm sure watching the tape back, there's things you guys know this week that you can do better offensively. But there's kind of two schools of thought that I've come up with here. One side says, oh, the Battlehawks didn't show their cards, right, in Week 10. They rode the clock, they rode the defense, and escaped with a win. Another school of thought says, regardless of the situation, that was going to be the same game plan against San Antonio, whether it was Week 3, Week 10, or the playoffs. So I guess my question is, when you have this strange back-to-back, same building, same team, running it back for a second time, what is the winning formula and how do you game plan? Is it that you're hiding stuff or is it that, you just got to win the game?
I wouldn't say it's hiding stuff. I'd say, you can add new wrinkles and, you can formation plays in a different way. But it's not really hiding anything or hiding a play or no, we got this secret play that, San Antonio has never seen or no teams has. Like, it's not nothing like that. It's more just, you add little wrinkles, you do different things. Maybe you try different run plays or you try different pass plays or you try different route combinations. So it's more, I'd say it's more of that than it is hiding something. But we have a good game plan. Bruce and the other coaches put together a great game plan, and we just got to trust it. We just got to play hard. We got to play physical, play through the whistle, play fast, and I think everything else will handle itself at the end of the day. We just, like I said, have to trust what the coaches come up with because they put a lot of hours into game planning and they put a lot of hours into making sure that we're prepared and we're ready to go for Saturday or Sunday.
Absolutely, and it's a tough situation when you've beat a team twice already, but the third one is the one that's going to count the most. This happens in the NFL. Sometimes with divisional opponents, I've seen stories of teams winning the 2 regular season meetings in division and then getting beat in the playoffs, and it just doesn't matter. So, yeah, 1-0, right? The James Franklin mantra. That's got to be the message this week.
That's all it is, honestly. Treat every game like it's its own championship game at the end of the day. Now, especially now that it's the playoffs, everything's more heightened. So. But like I said, throughout the regular season, we were just treating every game like it was, the UFL championship. So, like I said, nothing really changes for us, and we're just going to keep our same mantra. We're going to keep our same flow of everything. But yeah, nothing special that we need to do. We just need to do our jobs and trust what we're being taught.
Yeah, it's great to see you back in the postseason again. I know you live in Dallas now, and that was a place you won the Cotton Bowl back in 2019 with Penn State. That was another big time postseason game. So. We really appreciate your time. One last question before we let you get back to work here. We had you on the show week 2 before the Arlington game, and you called the shot. You said, I want 40,000 plus in the Dome, and you got it. Shattered the spring football record for attendance that night. Here we go. Another primetime game, playoff football back in St. Louis for the first time in 20 years. Call your shot again, Steven. What are we getting this time around? Is it 45? Is it 50? What are we pushing here?
It's going to be rowdy, that's for sure. I think we break the attendance record again. I think we do. How much? I don't know. Because it depends. If there's a Cardinals game this weekend, that might take a couple numbers away.
Yeah.
And most of our games have landed with Cardinal games, so that's most of our attendance is going to the other St. Louis team. But I don't know, honestly. I'm going to go with the safe bet and go 45,000.
Let's go. That would be.
I'm going to go 45.
Massive crowd.
Go yeah. Listen, I hope for 50 because that would be. And I think they could do it, and I think the city might do it. But I'm going to go safe and go 45. I think that's a safe choice right now, and that's still a lot of fucking people.
Yeah, and there's a lot going on.
Sorry for the language, but that's a lot of people.
Yeah, this is Springball Boulevard here, man. We don't have a filter, but that's huge.
I know.
Yeah,
I got to keep it professional a little bit.
That's huge because, I'm even hearing Mike Martz, who coached the Rams on the Greatest Show on Turf. He's coming in to call the game on radio, so. St. Louis, I think St. Louis is going to show out for this one, obviously.
Yeah.
Last playoff game there was 0-4 divisional game. It was a sellout, like 66K. So Yeah, that's
they're for sure going to show up. I like I said, I hope 50 because that'd be freaking sweet. Like that would be like, whoa, holy crap! Like this is something different level. You know what I mean? Because even the 40,000 is a lot. Even our regular attendance of 32,000, much more than any of these other teams are used to. So yeah, I don't, like I said, I don't know. I don't really know, but I definitely think 45,000 might be the safe option. I think that might be the amount of people that might be there this weekend. So, but St. Louis, please prove me wrong.
Yeah.
Bring 50,000. Fill up the whole stadium. That'd be great.
Let's do it. Sell it out. That is Steven Gonzalez. Steven, as always, thank you for joining us as we come up to the playoffs here. I know you've been a busy guy, but you're always a great chat. Good luck this weekend. I hope to get to catch you in the championship game.
No doubt, Maddie. Appreciate you. Thank you for the time, guys. And like I said, always appreciate coming on Springball Boulevard, man. I love this podcast. Love hearing y'all talk about, spring football, and it's important, man. Y'all put a platform out there for us, so we appreciate it. We as players, I know for sure appreciate it. So thank you, Maddie, and thank you. Appreciate y'all.
It means a lot, man. Appreciate it. Have a good one. Wow. What a pro, Steven Gonzalez. They used to teach him something at Penn State called success with honor, and I think he handled that pretty well. I'm not sure that everybody in the Battlehawks locker room is able to be quite that professional about what Tease Tabor said. And I think you're going to have some guys who are going after 22 in yellow. I think the offensive line will be okay, but you might see some drawing. That San Antonio defense has a mouthpiece on him. I know Bryce Thompson is another guy who has absolutely been vocal before. Steven said something about, before we get into best bets here, Steven said something about the Cardinals. So we're going to go to our St. Louis resident expert, TPG, here. Do you know anything about that? Like, what's the situation with baseball in St. Louis this weekend? Is this a standalone game?
So on Sunday, the Cardinals host the Rockies, 2:15 first pitch. So if you're a real Saint lunatic, you could do both this weekend. Have yourself a Sunday.
And is Nelly in concert? That would just add to it, right? Yeah, there's always a million things going on. They had a NASCAR race there. Like, there's always something. But, all right, boys, let's get into the Boulevard Best Bets Playoff Edition. Obviously, we foreshadowed a lot of these already. I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach. I'll lead us off with a two-leg money line parlay that's going to get me plus 120 on the odds board. Decent enough price for me to include it as a best bet because to me it's don't go any higher juice than maybe minus 120, but we're in the window here. I'm going to take Birmingham money line against Michigan. I'm going to parlay that with St. Louis money line. Any sports book you can do that at, that's the play this weekend. Wherever you shop for your odds, you're going to get it anywhere from plus 110 to plus 130 if you even did get a better price than I did. But I don't like the numbers. I think, if anything, maybe St. Louis covers. But I feel like the money line parlay is the way to go. And I hope that these boys let me get away with that as my best bet this week.
So I'm convinced there's going to be an upset this week. And I'm going to tell you why. Year one USFL, New Jersey Generals, Philadelphia Stars. New Jersey Generals come into that game on a 9-win streak. What happens? Marcel Belfay, Case Cookus pull the upset, right? And if it wasn't for Case Cookus breaking his leg in that fourth quarter of the USFL Championship 2020, I think the Stars take the championship that year. And then look back last year in the XFL. Luis Perez gets traded to Arlington, right? Houston kind of fell off second half of the season. Perez gets to Arlington. They start clicking at the right time. What happens? They pull the upset, and they go on and knock off the defenders in the championship. So that's why. And the upset's not going to happen to my team, folks. It's going to be Michigan money line. That's what it's going to be.
No points. No points.
No points.
Money
no
lines.
Points.
I think. Okay, let me start with this. TPG made some great points in the preview with Michigan and Birmingham as to why he's going the Panthers. However, I think there's a little bit of fear here that if Birmingham wins this game, it's a tougher matchup. So I think he's leaning into, if I get an upset here, I'm looking ahead. Wow. We got revenge against Michigan. Now, it would be revenge against either team. Right, I'll give you that. But, man, can you imagine after what went down in week won. The drama between Jake Bates, between Ford Field, AJ rallying him back at the end, if that's our championship. Money line. I mean, we've done this, Zook, for 11 weeks. And this guy's afraid of a minus sign.
Oh,
he's afraid of a minus sign. Take the points, you maniac.
You take the points, you maniac. That's great.
What's your best bet, Zook?
Listen, if Gonzo can come on this show and drop an F-bomb, so can I. Giddy fuck up. -5, baby. Let's go.
I was waiting for the horse.
That's all I got.
I'm not doing it. I'm
Come
sick
on,
of that.
come on, please.
No, I'm sick of getting clipped. I keep getting clipped by you people. Wearing a Battlehawks shirt. I'm getting clipped freaking doing the... I'm sick of it. Look, this is all you need to clip right here. Next year, 2025, we're back. I'm sick of this. I got a Battlehawks fan and then, a guy who just rides the 901 team all season.
Listen, saddle up. We got it. -5 all day. Adrian, I'm saying it right now. Adrian Martinez is is worth 7.
What was that little quote?
MVP. Let's go.
What was that quote from Roll Tide Willie that you heard earlier, TPG? What did he say?
I don't give a piss about nothing but the Stallions.
All right. That is best bets. And of course, it wouldn't be Springball Boulevard without a look at DFS. And we got TPG live and in person. Take it away, my friend.
And now, People's Gambler presents the first ever live DFS segment. Stardom, Jakor Pearson. After a couple of quiet weeks, Peasy found himself back in the mix versus San Antonio, catching 3 passes for 36 yards. I believe the third-year pro out of Ole Miss is due for a big game, and OC Bruce Gradkowski will continue to find creative ways to get his speedy receiver the ball. Start Jakor Pearson. Sit him, Jay Sternberger. Coming off 2 strong performances the past couple of weeks, Sternberger enters the playoffs with a massive target on his back. The 6-year pro out of Texas A&M was seen jawing with some Panthers after the game. But bullshit talks, buddy. Let's see who's pointing at the scoreboard after the game on Saturday night. Sit Jay Sternberger. Sleeper, Justin Smith. Last week, Smith made a spectacular catch when the Brahmas needed it most. The third-year pro out of Norfolk State was targeted 7 times last week, and I believe his high target share will continue in the playoffs. With Kirkland going absolutely nuclear a week ago, expect him to get most of the attention from the St. Louis secondary, which will leave Smith with some favorable matchups. Sleeper, Justin Smith.
Zook, what did you say that, you've been great with the acronyms lately. What'd you say DFS stands for earlier?
You're going to try to get me again.
You already dropped one. You already dropped one about 30 seconds ago. So.
All right, here we go. Don't fucking suck.
That's a week off of TPG being toilet paper gambler. But a round of applause is due. To TPG, 2 shows, 2 days, presents 3 freshies last night. Comes on right into the fire, right? Live DFS segment, giving all of his opinions. Keep in mind, this is his on-air debut. So if it's even just for TPG's sake, drop us a super thanks. Follow him on Twitter, peoples_gambler. We're all about it. He's done a great job as the 3rd contributor to our show. And thankfully, I've had to deal with less of Chris Zook because of him, which is always a good thing. Oh, man. Let's get out of here. We got 2 big playoff games coming up. Part of me wishes that they were on the same day. Part of me also wishes that the championship game was on Saturday instead of Sunday, but a little treat for the NFL fans. For the People's Gambler, for the producer, director, and owner of Studio Z, Chris Zook, I am Matty Fresh. Enjoy the playoffs, and you always remember, there is no such thing as football season. We'll see you Sunday night for a full recap.